Hi guys, in this video I want to talk about one of your questions which was asked too many times. It was about how I can design the head and face of a character and how to prepare it for rigging, especially the eyes and mouth, which is a bit tricky to do. So in this video I work on the head of a character and how to prepare it for rigging. The point that you need to know is there are 3 steps for animating the head or character. The first step is designing the character and the head. The second one is rigging, and the third one is animating. Every step is dependent on the next one, which means I do rigging according to the animation I want to create for the character or its head. This means if the animation of the character is simple, the rigging process is also simple. Or if the animation is complex and contains a lot of positions and whatnot, the rigging process is as time consuming and complicated. And also for designing. What I mean is that based on how complex you want the rigging to be, the character design and the layers of the character should be just as so. Now let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to make is the circle-like part of the head. So I make this part using shape. Let me disable stroke and fill so I can just see the path. When I want to only move one of the handles, I just hold Alt and then drag it. I rename it to head and enable its fill and recolor it. Well, after that, it's time for the back hair. I hold Alt and drag it like this. I hold Alt again. I click and hold Alt again so I can make sharp angles. Well, I wanted to make the back hair in a separate layer, but since the head layer was selected, it's added to the head layer. And so I can separate these 2 layers, I duplicate this layer. Here, I delete the second shape, and in this layer, I delete the first one. So the back hair would be in a separate layer. I change its color to the same color as the reference. Now time to work on the front hair. After that, in order not for the front hair to move outside of the face area while animating, I copy this shape from the head layer. Then in the front hair, in contents, and I paste it here. The next thing that I have to do is add merge path modifier to the contents. I don't want stroke. In the merge path, I set its mode to intersect. This means it will show the areas that are in common with both shapes and hide the rest. And I change its color to the same color as the reference. Let me rename this one as well. Now if you pay attention, when I move the hair layer, it won't show anything outside of this area. After that, the next thing that you need to know is that when I'm animating, definitely I'm changing the face. And as you can see, if I do so, the previous problem still remains. To fix this problem, I parent the face path in the front hair layer to the main face path. So by pick whip, I parent this to this. Now, if I change the shape of the face, that problem won't occur anymore, and it works fine. I move this point a little bit upper. After that, you can see that there is a line right here. To fix this, in the front hair face, in transform, I increase the scale a little bit. I set it to 101. So the line wouldn't be there anymore. Then I do these two hair strands. I put both of them in the same layer. Now let's work on the ears. I change its color to the same color as the skin. For both of the strokes, I set the line cap to round cap. So these parts would be round. And I recolor it just like the reference. For the other ear, I duplicate this layer and rename it. And to flip it, I select the layer, select only one point, and by holding Alt and dragging, I select all points and then hit Ctrl T. I move it over here and I flip it just like this. As you can see in the reference, the ears aren't symmetrical, and this ear is a little bit bigger, but I want both of them to be symmetrical, so I won't change that. I move its anchor point right here. Now I'll be working on the eyebrows. In the stroke, I increase the size. Then in the taper, let me select the layer so I can see it better. In the taper, I set the start length to 100, so it would look like this, and I set its line cap to round cap. I increased the start width just a bit so this part of the eyebrow would look round. For the other eyebrow, I duplicate the layer. I select one point and then I hit Ctrl A so all of the points would be selected. Then I hit Ctrl T and I move it here. Then I flip it so it would match the reference. It looks good. Now let's work on the nose. I change its color just like the reference. Then I increase its size. Then I set the line cap to round cap. Then I add a trim pass to the contents. The next thing is the mouth. To create the mouth, first I make something like this for the mouth. I disable its stroke. I rename it to mouth. In contents, this will be inside the area of the mouth. I rename it to base. I enable its fill and recolor it as shown. Then I have to create these and a tongue for the mouth. For that, I create a shape like this for the teeth. I change its color to white. Again, I select contents and create another shape for the tongue. For its color, I want it to be the same as her cheeks, but a little bit darker. After that, just like the front hair thing, I have to mask these two shapes inside of the mouth shape. For that, I select tongue, I hit Ctrl G and put it in a group. I rename it to tongue group. I do the same for the teeth too. Then I duplicate the base layer. I put it in the tongue group. I add a merge path. I delete the stroke and the fill is the same color as the tongue, which is good. In the merge path, I set it to intersect. So now to show you what happened, as you can see the tongue is only visible within the mouth shape. I place its anchor point here. I do the same for the teeth part as well. I recolor it white because it's for teeth. And I set the merge path mode to intersect. I make the base visible. As you can see, the teeth are only visible within the area of the mouth, and outside of it, it's not visible. I place its anchor point here. I make the base visible as well. So as you can see, I'm done with the mouth of the character. I should do the same as I did for the front hair. And that is if I want to animate the mouth shape, as you can see, this problem will occur. To fix that, under each shape of the base, I open their paths. And I parent the path of the shapes that are in a group to the main shape. I do the same for this path too. Now if I move the shape, you can see that the other shapes move along. After that, I draw another shape for the line of the mouth here. I select contents and I make a shape here. I rename it to line. And I set line cap to round cap. Then I make the mouth layer look like this so it will be hidden under the line of the mouth. So let's go for the eyes. First, I make the white part of the eye. I add a circle shape here. I rename them so they would be clear. I select contents, and by holding Ctrl Shift and dragging, I make a symmetrical circle shape right here. I name it light. And I make the eyelash just like how I made the eyebrows. Then I put this in a group. I select the group and make these two other lines. I duplicate this shape and put it here and make it smaller. I put these three shapes in one group. I change the color of the shapes. Well, the next thing that I need to do is this part of the shape would be only visible within the white area of the eyes. For this, I should do just like what I did for the mouth. First of all, I put light and black in one group. I duplicate the white part and put these two in one group. I go to the group of these two shapes. I add a merge path. I don't want the stroke, and I set the merge path to subtract. And I put the black on top, so this part would be empty. And the color should be changed to this. And for this group, which contains the white and the black group, I add a merge path, delete its stroke, and I set the merge path mode to intersect. And I change its fill color like this, because it's the black part of the eye. Let me select the layer, and I can move it without worrying about anything. Let me make the white shape visible. And just like before, I have to parent this shape to this one. So when the main one moves, the other one moves alongside it. To do so, I open the path of the white shape. In the group, I open the path of the white too. And I parent this to the main shape. Now, if I move the white shape, both of them move and there is nothing wrong. Now in the black group, transform, I create a keyframe for its position. So if I want to move it, I can simply hit U key and make the position visible. Okay, now I have to create another shape for the eye, so it would function as its eyelid. So I create another shape right here. I disable its stroke, and I change fill color to the same color as the skin. And I move it below the eyelash group so that later on I can create a blinking animation for it. I rename it to eyelid. To create the other eye, first I convert these circle shapes to Bezier path, so I can manually change the paths. After that, I duplicate this layer. I rename it, I select the layer, and pick up the pen tool. And by holding Alt and dragging, I select all of the points and hit Ctrl T, and I move it here. And I flip it. Then I try to match it to the reference. It looks good now. And to fix the light shape, in the group, I move it here. Well, let's go for the last shape, which is the cheeks. I place its anchor point in the center. I duplicate it and move it here. Then I rename it as well. Okay, I hide the reference layer and make the layers I made visible. So the head of the character seems fine, but here are a few points to know. The ears should be behind the head, and the eyes below the front hair. So I move the front and top hair layer atop. The eyebrows should also be on top of the hair. I also want to add that you don't have to put all the shapes of the eye in one layer. You can use different layers and mask them by masking or matte layer. But since I prefer to have fewer layers in my timeline, I use this method for creating the eyes and the mouth. If you want to know how to rig and animate this head, you can watch this video in which I explained rigging and animating the head in detail. Thanks for watching.